Okay, so this is a product and event overview from the BRZ. This is actually called a ZC6 or a ZC6 if you're American. Z is weird. We say it differently and for different chassis, but anyways, the car did phenomenal other than the limp mode, which it ended up being the rear ABS sensor was bad. Probably just got damaged. These things happen when we're working on the car, but we got that fixed. We also have installed the new dual caliper bracket, nicely fit up here. We're making one teeny tiny change to the orientation, just moving it down slightly, but otherwise that worked fantastic. Anti-squat bracket worked great. Traction arms work great. These are not new. We've been selling these forever. This is our bump steer kit for the tow arm. So we're able to create toe gain or correct bump steer using this. The coolest part, which was the very uniquely designed angle kit, looking at an OEM knuckle, tons of different ideas come to your mind when you're looking at it. But until you start putting things on it, it's really difficult to see how something's gonna work. I really didn't like using the stock location for the tie rod as some kind of support, so we started looking at other areas. The bearing, can we improve roll center, can we do all these other things? And we successfully did that. Someone who doesn't even drift, Dilly, he's a race car guy, drifted the car and he said this is the easiest car he's ever drifted. It gets tons of angle, still have the stock lower control arms. This is how it all looks. Now don't mind the rust. This was covered in snow, like literally covered in snow. But we have a OEM ball joint. We have a tie rod support system that bridges from the brake caliper, a bearing bolt, and then catches the plate underneath here to create our double shear, you can see. And then we have infinite Ackerman adjustment using shims. We are gonna design actual laser cut shims, but instead we used washers. So while I was out the track, I actually added these. Without even taking the wheel off, I was able to move this plate out, which increased my positive Ackerman and gave us a little bit of a different feel for the car, because we were running at 0. Now we're running around +2, +4 degrees of Ackerman. I didn't measure it. We were just doing this at the track. This control arm extension worked fantastic. We're in the middle setting. We can still go 15 millimeters out from here or in. This plate with the added sway bar, I'm probably gonna move the plate more this way so that we can catch the sway bar on the outside of it and that we can get a little more leverage on the control arm. But we are also making a full control arm for this car as well. This adapter here is actually going to be able to then bolt onto the control arm that we make, and you will be able to grow with this kit from beginning all the way to mini, mild, and mega, getting yourself to a pro setting. The other thing that worked incredibly well was our rack relocation kit. This thing was quite easy to install. It worked incredibly well. Fortunately, the steering column extends and even reaches the new location, which is about 34 to 36 millimeters forward. Depending on, honestly, the more you grind away, the further you can actually weld this plate. We designed it so that you weld it right up to the control arm plane, where the control arm bolts to the subframe. You take that, use that as your cut plane. We are actually going to probably cut one on the water jet just for fun. I know you guys have seen those videos cutting, you know, computers, wheels, watermelons, whatever. You can cut anything in half on a water jet, so we're gonna cut the subframe shape, see how that goes. If you don't see it in a video, it means it didn't go well. So we are gonna do that next, but you can see the Ackerman perfectly rubbing each frame rail, slightly here with the studded tires and then slightly here with the studded tires. And then we were able to fine tune that perfect bump stop with this welded on piece. This will become part of the integration. For the time being, we just kind of threw it on there, welded it where it worked, and then the top plates worked really well. You can see them nicely under here. This was a fantastic upgrade. We basically maximized the track width that you could run while in a stock fender. And we actually kept the OEM wheel as well. And we were able to get somewhere around 52, 54 degrees of angle, which is insane on a chassis like this. The Boxster engine is so wide, the frame rails are wide, and it's a pain in the butt. So that's a nice, successful, we prototyped and tested and made about 7 products for this car that are all new. And very successful test, hit a ton of doors and people, multiple people drove this car, and one of them resulted, we're not going to say who, but a nice crash. This car was fairly mint, and now it is definitely a drift car. Fortunately, it's a very common color in this chassis, so maybe we'll be able to get some spares.
But the handbrake.
Yeah, that's another one we made. The handbrake was amazing. Yeah, give us a slide there. So initially, upon jumping into the car, the handle was about here. I didn't really like that, so I was able to just adjust the thread, get the handle to move forward, and from this point on, I never thought about it again all weekend. This is amazing. The only thing we're really gonna change on this is bending this body in a more accurate way. Right now, the ribbing actually made the bend kind of kick in a way that we didn't like, so we have to reorient these so that the bend is gonna be exactly where we want it to be. And then this handle worked really well. It actually uses quite small hardware, but it hugs and wraps right around the steel insert, so that most of the mechanical leverage that you're using is not on the bolts, it's actually capturing it. It just works so fantastic. This slides on. I know this doesn't look very good, we just kind of zip cut it quick. Obviously you're gonna want to do a better job with that. Clip that in there, just like that, and then tuck this away a little neater, and then you know what? We've got a fully hidden hydraulic handbrake inside of this baby. Pair it up with our FDF shift knob, goes into reverse, all your gears. Really happy with this product, feels great, it's perfect location. We're gonna start rolling these products out after tweaking the little things that I'm talking about on all these products in order to get them to you in perfect working fashion. We've got installation guides to make, we've got assembly things to do. We have the laser machine running, so let's go see that. It's actually in production. Within 5 days, we have this up and running. Rain's running it. Let's check it out. So Rain's got this thing absolutely blasting, cutting all of our thinner stuff first, having a little bit of issues on the thicker stuff. But one of the cool parts is this transfer system allows for 2 sheets to be in use at all times. As one's cutting, you're unloading one, and then when the other one's cutting, the pre-cut sheets come back and you start unloading that. So it's a continuous process of 2 ways of cutting. The only thing we need to figure out is a method to lift the sheet up so that we don't scratch the bottom of it. When we're doing aluminum stuff, we don't want the sheet to slide against these fingers. We want to set it down straight, lift it up straight. So I'm gonna come up with some form of a air jack system, because if we put air jacks on the side of this and we have a bar joining this side to that side, we can probably utilize some new performance air jacks in an industrial format and get that sheet to lift up so the forklifts can pick it up and put it back down, and then we can transfer it. So that's going to be a cool little project. We'll put that on the channel. But right now we're just doing a bunch of steel stuff, which doesn't really matter. Let's see what Rain's up to. So this is the operating side of the machine. Rain's currently going through the work manual, figuring out everywhere that we need to keep lubricated. Currently, we're running through some unknown challenges in terms of different thicknesses, different settings. It's not quite like the water jet where you simply just speed things up or slow things down and it just cuts at 50,000 PSI at all times. This machine has different power, different duration, different air pressures, and it all has to do with the cut quality. So working through these things, there's going to be a lot of downtime and a lot of figuring things out to get those parameters correct. Yesterday seems to have the thinner stuff dialed for most of our products. Now it's just figuring out how to get the thicker stuff to work well. Also, we're using way more nitrogen than we thought we would, although everyone kind of told us that we would use a lot of it, but we didn't think it would be like 20 minutes per bottle. There's 16 bottles in these. So really in a day, you run out of this entire basket. So yeah, people that use lasers, they're obviously going to have known this already, but it's all new to us, and there's a lot of other things that we need to learn, take care of. This machine has a lot of extras you can see in the back here. This is the lasers machine, like power supply.
That's power supply.
So this is like a little plasma box, but it's actually a laser. Chiller for the air to be free of any moisture, and then we have the transformer that allows us to step down from 600 to 408, I believe, 400 volt. We don't use 400 in Canada, we use 600. We use 220 and 600, 3-phase. So the amps that this thing's putting out, I think is around 130 amps is what we're required to run this. And then we have a crazy air filtration system. That is what keeps the air clean from the laser blasting through. There's a ton of extra things. When you see one of these machines, you're like, oh, just put the laser right here against the wall. No, not against the wall. You need 6 feet plus, yeah, I guess that's just over 6. You need 6 feet here minimum to fit all this and still be able to work back here. A giant hamster tube. This is what sucks out of the bottom. It has pull-out trays that you pull out, and that's how you catch all the debris. So you grab one of these handles and roll this out. This is what catches all the debris. We're fully up and running with this thing. We're gonna be able to make products faster for you guys, so that's the whole idea. We need to stock this shelf full of material. You try to prepare for these things, and then you realize this machine can cut an entire sheet in a couple of hours. So normally we're stocking 4 to 6 sheets. Well, that's only gonna last you like 2 to 3 days. So we're gonna have to really up the inventory on sheet metal, which we accounted for, but like you never really know until you get it. So that's all I got for you in this video. On the next one, I still gotta work on the next educational display. Andy Squat has been kicking my butt on that, so that may not be the next one, although I did try. I will continue to try until I come up with something that works well. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video.